So I wanted to make that change to the agenda.
Oh, okay, thank you. We'll take that up after the scheduled agenda then. Great. So we now are going to move into our public comment period, and it is New College's policy that if you wanted to speak at this meeting, you must have registered at least 48 hours in advance of the meeting and identify the topic or topics that you wish to speak on. I received a list of 8 people who have registered for public comment. Each commenter will have 1 minute to speak. Ms. Fitzpatrick will call your name. You will be unmuted, and at the 1 minute mark, you will be remuted. Ms. Fitzpatrick, please call the first name on the list, and let's get started.
Okay, the first name this afternoon is Michael Sanderson.
Hi, I'm Mike Sanderson. I entered New College in 1999. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. I entered New College in 1999. I asked to comment on the airport agreement, and I'm speaking in favor. And I think it's a great development, assuming there's no trick. You know, I flew into Sarasota for the meetings in January, for Sarasota for the reunion, and into Sarasota again for the February and April meetings. And then I learned one of the biggest threats to New College was the increased passenger volume meant the airport authority might want to take the land back. So the agreement is great news, and it makes perfect sense. Richard Corcoran or Bill Galvano could do a deal like this. It's too bad Corcoran couldn't have just gotten himself made foundation president and then done the things he's good at to widespread acclaim instead of getting egged on by a malicious alum to destroy the existing college community. And speaking of flying in, I hope you can discuss what dates you got for the January meeting, although my plans for 2024 are still under the radar. Thank you. It's been quite an experience for all of us this past year. I don't wish ill on any person, so happy New Year to each and every one of you. Thanks. Goodbye.
Thank you. Next up, we have Aliana Salazar.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, I want to say that in light of the Ziegler scandal, I think that anything that Bridget Ziegler has had to do with, including the selection of a new president, giving the job to Mr. Corcoran, should be reviewed under new light. I think that the finances and the grifting that's gone on has gone on too long. A perfect example is the hotel arrangement now. They're not getting a deal. We're spending top dollar. The hemorrhaging of taxpayer money into the pockets of DeSantis's friends, Corcoran's friends, the Ziegler friends has got to stop. I also want to go on the record as stating that any kind of expansion into an online university is only going to dilute the brand. That is not what's going to make New College an exceptional honors college. What that's going to be is, I'm guessing that there's a whole lot of professors, for example, Rufo doesn't want to have to leave home in order to teach at New College. And I think an online avenue is just a way to continue the grifting and to put money into the pockets of more of their allies that don't want to commute. So I would urge you to not do that. I would urge you to protect the brand of New College. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Juliana Pare.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to provide this public comment. I'm glad that my comments, as well as your remarks, will be recorded for posterity and available. It's important given that the minutes describing the substantive discussions are entirely perfunctory, with only the description of questions and a discussion ensued. In regards to the presidential contract discussion on October 20th, I note that when I raised the issue of conflict of interest during the public comment period, multiple trustees saw fit to address that concern. Given that they saw the issue as important enough to respond to, I would have expected that to be evidenced in the minutes regarding the discussion. In the likely event that this meeting again includes minutes no more detailed than questions occurred and a discussion ensued, rest assured, members of BOT, that thoughtful community members are paying attention to and documenting what you say and what you do here. Thank you.
Okay, next up we have John O'Miller.
Following up on the minutes situation, the minutes are kind of perfunctory. I would strongly recommend recording the actual wording of the motions. You've already had to go back once and correct a situation like that. It just makes sense to get the actual wording of the motion and not paraphrase it. Secondly, related to the airport purchase, it looks like you've got a great price, and this issue has been circling the college for decades. And if this administration can bring it in for a landing, that would be a great success. I do want to point out that if the intent is to buy less than the entire East Campus, then the materials in the board packet are inaccurate. And I've alerted the administration, and hopefully they'll clarify what the exact property being acquired is going to be. Thank you very much.
You, next up, we have Robin Williams.
As we celebrate Hanukkah, the festival of lights, truth is coming to light in Sarasota. Hypocrisy isn't welcome. New College trustees took over with the ruse. The metrics weren't good. Then slashing admission standards, now pushing online classes for whoever pays. Corcoran wanting $400 million from the state, or about $580,500 per student, and NCF's ranking plummeting. Your dorm debacle will result in $6.2 million for spring semester hotel costs, $37,071 per room per semester at Home 2 Suites, $24,750 at Hyatt Place. As Mr. Rufo's friend Bridget Ziegler is finding, the public won't long tolerate colossal hypocrisy. How many trustees like Ziegler don't believe the anti-CRT, anti-LGBTQ propaganda peddle, but market it to your base for self-advancement? Like Ms. Ziegler, may your days of reckoning come soon. Like the Maccabees of yore, we will prevail.
Thank you very much. Next up is Elizabeth Alves.
I'm gonna assume both of them are under Jens. They have been in the past.
Okay, good. Did you add him in? Yes.
If not, I don't see Elizabeth, and Jen would be the next.
All right, let's move on to Betsy Braden.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. My child had to leave New College due to the toxic environment the hostile takeover caused on LGBTQ students and academic freedom. Now at Hampshire, our school costs have skyrocketed due to increased tuition and transportation costs. Also, as a pissed off Florida taxpayer, I'm appalled at the grift at New College. One would think with an influx of $50 million, the school would improve, but it did the opposite. The school has dropped 24 points with US World Reports, with student educational standards dropping also. With the $50 million, Oker would have made the school the #1 public arts school without tripling her salary. Representative Escamani said the school is full of unemployed Republicans with no higher ed experience who can't wait for that Florida pension. Ziegler was on the New College Presidential Search Committee. She is now disgraced and resigned from the Learning Institute. As Taylor Swift says, trash takes itself out. That time can't come enough soon enough for you grifters.
Thank you very much. I still don't see that we've had Jens or Elizabeth Alves join. So, Madam Chair, that concludes our public comment for this afternoon.
Thank you. We'll proceed with our meeting. We have up on our agenda, the consent agenda. The action items are to approve minutes for the November 6, 2023 BOT meeting, approve minutes for the October 2023 BOT meeting, approval of incoming New College of Florida Foundation Inc. Board of Director who was added, and one informational item which has been circulated is the Board of Trustees Committee assignments. May I please have a motion to approve the consent agenda action items and informational item, please?
I'll move to approve.
Thank
Second.
you. Who, I didn't hear who was the second.
Second.
Thank you.
Spalding, yeah.
Thank you, trustee Spalding. Is there any discussion? Okay, well, seeing none, let's take a vote on the consent agenda. Ms. Fitzpatrick, can you call the names?
Do a voice vote. You can do a voice vote, Madam Chair.
We do a voice vote. Okay, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, thank you. We now move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the president's report. I would now invite our president, Richard Corcoran, to say a few words for us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just give you some updates. I'll go over a lot of this, I think, in the January meeting and when we're all together in person, so you can see more of it. On the first good updates, that hopefully when you guys get here for the January meeting, these are the things that are going on in campus right now for those of you who are not with us, that you'll see when you come in January. One is behind Robertson Hall, we put together picnic bench area, a band stage, a fire pit, and a walkway, and it's covered with a nice decorative covering, but that should be completely done by Christmas, and the students will be able to go out there, have live music, and then we'll have food trucks that'll be associated with it too, so there'll be food and entertainment, hopefully on a nightly basis, maybe the 6 to 10 range. We're trying to work it all out. The other thing is when you drive in, you'll see on the right now, we have the sign of the rendering of the greenhouse. The greenhouse will probably go in in February, but when you drive down the main drag, you'll see the greenhouse sign. You'll also see the Pritzker sign, that money you remember we got from the legislature. That whole process is now beginning, and that Pritzker will be under construction over the next 6 to 7 months and hopefully be open for the fall semester, but you'll see that sign too. Then you'll also see that 58th Street now continues through. All of the traffic that we've had, whether it's deliveries, whether it's visitors, whether it's students, anybody, all comes down. They get bottlenecked at the bottom near College and Cook, and then they all go up and back on the same road. So now that road, which has been anticipated and in New College plans for years and years and years, is now going through. It'll alleviate, that should be, you'll see that in January, should be done. That'll alleviate a lot of traffic, increase safety, and create a traffic pattern that'll be more pedestrian friendly. We're working on a softball field. The softball field that we had out there is really competitively ready. That has been completely done. The infield's being done, the outfield's being done. They're putting in the fencing. That should be done. The Jumbotron, it's been delayed because the building that we're putting the Jumbotron, there's some electrical issues, but we've had the electrical people out. Hopefully when you get here in January, the Jumbotron is up. We're trying to get it up in time for maybe some of the national football championships or a Super Bowl party with the students, but I don't know if it's the timing's gonna quite work, but somewhere around that time you should see the Jumbotron. And then we had a new vendor come in to Four Winds Cafe. It's Mama G's, been around for I think close to a decade, well known by the students, well known by the faculty. Most are members of their plan, just wonderfully well received. I was there today at about 11:45 to grab a sandwich and a drink, and there was a line all the way to the door. So it's a great addition and another food source for our students. All of that you'll see when you get here. Quick budget update is right now in the process. The session starts right after the new year in January, but the governor's budget recommendation has to come out prior to that. He came out with his budget recommendation last week, and we actually have more money in the budget recs than we did in the previous year. So we have an additional, the 10 million recurring, the additional 15 million in non-recurring. We have another 12.5 million in recurring because they recognize the problems that we have and they don't want to discourage us from continuing growth with students and continuing rehabbing the dorms. So they've given us 12.5, the governor recommended $12.5 million for dorm renovations. In addition to that, they reverted and reappropriate our funding for the Hamilton Center, which I think will help allow us, if we can get through this whole process and with your approval, actually purchase the airport land in addition to additional PICO projects. So we're excited about that. Obviously, lots of work to do through the legislative session. And I would encourage you guys, I've had some conversations with some of the trustees. I hope you don't mind if I call you out, Trustee Spalding. But he's going to come down early before the January meeting, and he's going to meet me in Tallahassee. We've already set up some meetings with some of the key stakeholders for him to talk about the importance of these funds and things that we could do and taking new colleges, to Trustee Spalding's point, back to its historical roots and be a premier liberal arts school. So if there's others, I know you have mentioned to me, some of the rest of you guys, about coming and doing that. It's one thing to hear from me, but when they hear from you guys and your background and your experience, it's very, very helpful. And we're trying to do it where there are days that you guys can come. We can get up and back in a day, so we don't, ruin your entire schedules, because I know how busy you guys are. We also, as you remember last time, we got ranked in the top 10 on the historic preservation list for the Caples roof. In addition to that, I just got back from DC, met with the lobbyists that the foundation has helped bring on for us to help us with the DC money. They're working on getting additional Caples money. They're helping us get resilience money for cleaning out the invasive species and creating a greater resiliency along the waterfront. So those projects will be underway. I think they're due in February for the federal budget, and we'll have updates for you on that. We kicked off the master plan process for re-envisioning and amending the master plan. We had our first meeting last Friday, invited our students, faculty, community leaders, had a great 2-hour session led by Dean Rancourt. I got some great input and feedback. The next meeting is in January, and then probably the following meeting statutorily will be in May, but that will give us an amendment to the entire master plan, and we continue to solicit more and more input. Moat Marine is also put in a project in Tallahassee. In that project, we are a key component of it, where when they build their new facility out at the UTC, they're going to work with us in getting internships for our students to go out there and participate in their center, and another great opportunity for students to be, career ready right after graduation with these great internships that we've been expanding on a daily basis. The foundation, just a quick update. Obviously, we had the transition. Adam Kendall's the chair. Dan Stoltz is still on the board. Between the two of them, they've done just a fantastic job. I just want to give a high level. Over the last 7 months, I always say this to people: if we didn't raise a single penny over the next 5 years in the foundation, in other words, we just didn't raise any money, nothing. That's not going to happen. But if that did happen, the foundation grows by $15 million just by the changes that Adam and Dan and the whole foundation board and Sydney Gruce have done over there. A fantastic job. We're saving $1 million a year in overhead. We're saving about $900,000 a year in scholarships, while increasing them by close to $3 million overall. And then we're saving about another $700, give or take, $1,000 in our spend, going from 5.5% down to 3.5%. But you take that over a 5-year period, it's about $15 million in additional revenues that will be in the bank, in the foundation, just with the changes, having not raised a single penny. Having said that, I asked Sydney for a quick update, and just so you know, so far in our foundation fiscal year, we're up about 43% in fundraising. In our calendar year, we're up about 33%. And we'll give you more updates on that as we turn the corner into the January session. And finally, I know you're going to hear from our General Counsel, Bill Galdano. We granted another extension to the Car Museum, another additional 3 months. But in doing so, we've doubled the rent. We have a reserve now in General Counsel's reserve in his trust account at the and we have a writ of possession already granted by the judge, so that come that date in March, we just basically go on and take possession of the property. They've been very cooperative and very helpful. They have been trying to move out as quickly as possible, and so hopefully this doesn't really delay us much as we continue to go through the whole master plan process and seeking more office space. So I think it's been a good win-win for all sides. But that's a brief update. If anyone has any specific questions, I know you have we have a 1 hour meeting, but I'll be glad to just reach out to me and I can give you updates or data or whatever you would like following the meeting. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, President Corcoran. Much appreciated. Sounds like it's going great. At this time, I would like to call upon David Rancourt, our Vice President of Enrollment Management and Student Services. Let's make sure we can hear him, and he's going to briefly explain the next agenda item, which is to authorize New College of Florida's president to enter into a student housing contract for spring of 2024. Mr. Rancourt, speak up and hopefully we can hear you.
Madam Chair, I completely forgot. You guys were not here for the unveiling of the pay competition. We partnered with Architecture Sarasota. The winner was Sweet Sparkman, a local architectural firm here in Sarasota. And I just wanted you to see very, very briefly, I know we're tight on time, but we have Carl from Sweet Sparkman. He's going to quickly walk you through some slides and show you just kind of a vision for that east side with the pays, which is just nothing short of amazing. And so I just wanted you guys to see it very, very briefly. Carl?
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, President Corcoran and distinguished board. My name is Carl Bernhard. I'm a principal with Sweet Sparkman. And I'm excited to show today the vision that we've put together for the Reimagining Pay competition. I'll try to keep it brief. I could talk about it for probably a full day with all the thought we put into it, but we'll keep it brief. I've got a couple of fly-through videos that I'll show you, but I will start with the master plan just to kind of give you a sense of what we were envisioning. Let me see if I can go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. All right. Okay, can everybody see?
Yes.
Okay, so just to give you a little bit of context, north is sort of this direction. You'll see General Spatz on the north side, you'll see University on the south, and then Tamiami Trail on the west. So really when we received the call to sort of reimagine how we could sort of repurpose the paid dorms, we really had to look at it holistically and look at the campus as a whole, really with this new vision of sort of an athletic complex. And really the paid dorms are kind of smack in the middle of the site. So really we either make them work, well with the new development or we can't. So really we sort of dug into that to sort of keep the dorms in place and to reimagine them so that they can sort of function as sort of the athletic complex sort of radiates around the dorms. So this is sort of a high level view. We're showing that this sort of nest area here is sort of a canopy, and we'll show you the sort of renderings to make it more clear, but this is where the paid dorms are. And then you'll see we're sort of anchoring the site with the new baseball stadium with a sort of multi-use track and field sort of on the east side of the campus there. We are retaining the dorms that were requested to be retained. A field house, we have a competitive softball field. We have competitive swimming. We have sort of a tailgating sort of a roundabout here, adjacent to the stadiums, parking to the northwest corner of the site, and then really trying to sort of accentuate that axis for the campus for good wayfinding, and really sort of consolidating all the parking to the northwest of the site and keep that sort of walkable feel of the campus. And then we have the tennis and pickleball area here to the northeast site. So it's a tight site, but if you can really kind of think about it almost carte blanche in a way, you can really do some amazing things with it. With that, I'm going to show you guys a video, a fly through. Can everybody see it? It's kind of jolty, but here you see sort of from General Spatz, you'll see that axis point, that axis that connects to the dorms. Unfortunately, it's a little bit jittery here, but if you bear with me. So you'll see this is sort of the tennis, pickleball area, the field house. You'll see the existing dorms. You'll see the multi-use field here with some stands as well. And then we make our way to University. You'll see we created sort of another connection point for vehicles to get through the site. May not be required, but it's a possibility. You'll see that axis here. And then, envisioning, kind of dreaming big, looking at a potential baseball stadium anchoring the corner of the site. We're trying to sort of enhance the walkability of the site by not only having pedestrian paths on the ground floor, but we also have elevated paths for people to sort of go above the tree canopy and keep them kind of off of that busy road off of 41. And you can see we're keeping the Sky Bridge, pedestrian bridge, consolidating parking to the north side here. And then the sort of main entry to the site is here on this axis. And quickly, I'll jump into the next one, which gives you a little more of a close-up. So this is sort of that promenade going south off of General Spatz. So we're creating this sort of central axis boulevard for pedestrians. The field house is on your left there, which would have indoor courts. The softball field is on your right here as we pass. And we're sort of making our way to sort of the centralized area where the pay dorms are, where we have sort of superstructure that sort of ties it all together. And you'll see what we're doing is we're salvaging the character of the pay dorms, but we're enhancing them as well as sort of enlarging them to make them more functional so that they function for retail, indoor fitness, indoor sort of lecture areas, and then that axis sort of culminates to the baseball field here. So as you sort of work your way through the paid dorms, you'll sort of culminate at the stadium. And then here you can kind of see an overview of that. The paid dorms sort of will have their own grandstand for viewing of the baseball stadium. We've consolidated the swimming area so that it becomes sort of part of the paid dorms themselves. And so the paid dorms actually serve that area. And then that's sort of it in a nutshell. Sorry I had to rush through it. If President Corcoran, is there anything else you'd like me to go through?
No, that was great, Carl, and because I know we're pressed for time, but at some point we'll have you guys maybe at the January meeting come and walk through how you came up with the palm cord and the structures and the hat tip to IM pay too. But I just wanted you guys to have that brief update, Madam Chair, and I know you had recognized Dean Rancourt, so I'll let you get back on your agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Bernhardt. We do look forward to having you come see us, and we can meet you in person and look at this on a really big screen, but it looks beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
We're all very excited. Okay, so thank you, President Corcoran. Mr. Rancourt, we had previously called upon you to present the agenda item on the contract for spring 2024.
Madam Chair, trustees, thank you for the opportunity and thank you for your support of our students and their housing needs. As a residential honors college, we are obligated to provide our students housing. And I want to thank you for the extra measures you've gone through to bring this item forward. We began negotiating with our current hotel partners about at the time we moved in the fall. It was important that we had a little bit of leverage, as much as we had the ability to find going forward. I want to share with all of you that our partners have been candid, transparent, and fair with us. And for that, we're grateful. We're entering the season, as it's known in Sarasota. So the ability to find rooms, first of all, was important. The ability that we found to keep our students in the rooms they've been in this fall, nearly all of them, but certainly most of them, was also an important consideration for us. So for our students, we try to make our hotel locations feel like on-campus dorms. And I want to thank our faculty, my other VPs, as well as our student government for being very helpful to us in finding information and inputs to make the experience better. We had some transportation challenges at first that we got through, but by and large, I think most of the students who are in the hotel really enjoy the experience. They're happy for the stay. The accommodations, frankly, are very, very nice. They're also less than a half mile from campus, so it does keep them very close. And with the van service, it's about as perfect an experience as we can find in the imperfect hand that we've been dealt. There's one change that I want to note. We had a
break it up a little bit.
Ma'am?
Your sound's breaking up a tiny bit. I'm sorry, Mr. Rancourt.
One change that I would note, we are no longer occupying the Hilton Hotel, which is also owned by the Home2 Suites. We had one of the 3 floors at that hotel in the fall. We've abandoned that. We've actually added a floor in the Hyatt Place. So we now have floors 2 and 3 going forward in the spring in the Hyatt Place. We'll continue to occupy the whole Home2 Suites location. So that actually concentrates us in one hotel a little better, which is better for our students. And it also lightens the transportation load from the vans off the Home2 and shares it a little bit better with the Hyatt. The numbers on these, we've got 133 beds in the Home2. We've got 115 in the Hyatt Place for a total of 249 beds within 193 rooms. And essentially the cost breakdown in the fall, we had $120 for single, $150 for doubles. The rate goes up for the remainder of these contracts for all rooms at $150. Again, in a market in Sarasota where rooms can rent upward to $300 and more, we're very pleased to have this rate. And thank you for your consideration. And again, a shout out to our hotel partners for being so fair and transparent.
Thank you. Can I have a motion, please, to approve to authorize New College of Florida president to enter into a student housing contract for spring 2024?
So moved.
Thank you. Have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Now we have discussion. I see that Trustee Reed has had her hand up, so I'll recognize her.
Thank you, and I hope you can hear me. I'm Dean Rancourt. I had a real hard time hearing what you were saying. It was fairly blurry. So, but I'm hoping that you are going to be able to provide what you said is transparency on this, these contracts, because I have a number of questions. First of all, about the dates of these contracts. Normally our fall semester includes ISP. So a fall semester housing contract normally would have gone from August until the end of January. It looks like these contracts for the hotel start the spring semester on or around December 15th. Is that so?
Yes, ma'am.
And then I'm questioning the length of the semester going forward to the spring. There's a discrepancy between the two hotels. For the Hyatt Place, it looks like it's about 160 days, which would take us from the middle of December until the end of May. But the other one runs through August 15th. Why is that, please?
Madam Chair, Trustee Reed, thank you for the question. The simple reason for that is the Home2 Suites was not interested in renegotiating through the spring semester. And in order to get a rate that was reasonable, we had to add the summer term. Ideally, we would have ended it in May, but we'd have been at actually a higher rate to end it. So we're actually saving money by extending through the summer. That helped them with their business plan, and it helped us enable us to keep our students there. Otherwise, we probably would have had to relocate them in 3 or 4 hotels. I can tell you already, it's a great question. We're already ahead of the curve on that. We are currently in the market right now with several of our partners, ranging from the ballet and others locally, who are going to have summer camps. We're talking to our coaches about summer camps so we can occupy those hotels and recoup some of that money. Essentially, the rate would have been higher for us to end the contract in May, as we did with the other hotel. The end cost would have been greater to us than to include the summer term. Again, we've done the best we can. It's not an ideal situation, but we would not have, the hotel rejected our offer otherwise, and it was the best we could do under difficult circumstances. Your criticism, however, is fair.
I just want to point out that we don't have a summer term. So I understand that you're planning on creating some other programs and housing people who are not our students in these spaces, but New College does not have a summer term.
Yeah, he addressed that, Trustee Reed. He was saying that we got a better price by extending through the summer, and having gotten a better price by extending through the summer, we're going to utilize that space for non-student activities to recruit some of that money. So everything you said is correct.
I understand that, but he twice repeated through the summer term. And I think it's important to note that we do not have one.
Madam Chair,
My next question is about.
Madam Chair, Trustee, I was referring to the term of the contract.
Thank you.
So my next question is about the amount of money or where it's coming from.
can you tell me how much money was spent for the hotels for the fall?
Sure, this, Madam Chair, this is, in trustee Reed, this is Chris Kinsley, for the record, the CFO. We've spent approximately 2.5 million in the fall. In total, we'll spend a little over $7 million through the end of the both contract terms. The dollars will be coming from our general operations.
Thank you.
That was, so, it looks like the contracts just for this extended winter to spring are over $6 million. So $6 million plus 2.5 brings us to 8.5. Is that correct?
Sounds about right. I think I'm talking in terms of, the fiscal year. The dollars will come for through the 23-24 fiscal year. Then we will have that portion that needs to be paid in the summer. Some of that will be offset, as Dean Rancor said, from camps and conferences.
Okay.
If you want precise numbers, we can certainly provide that, follow the meeting.
So the question of the timing of the payments, I guess you've just answered that, because for the Home2 Suites, although the contract runs through August, the payments are starting today, as a matter of fact, and ending in July, or June, maybe June. So that's in order to have the payments come out during this fiscal year versus carrying over to the next? Or are we signing a contract that's encumbering us for next fiscal year?
Well, it is the term of the contract is the H2 Suites, a portion of the term is next fiscal year. So I think we're really talking about, the budget versus the bookkeeping. We'll make sure we have the dollars, to pay for these, and we do have the dollars to pay for these contracts. I can assure the trustees of that. In terms of, when we recognize the expense, we'll recognize that expense for the summer months in the next fiscal year.
And Madam Chair, Trustee Reed, just to be clear, the hotel would not have offered us a contract for just the spring term of the spring semester. In order to get this contract, we had to extend through the summer, and the price for including the summer was actually a few dollars less than what we have done if they would have offered us the spring, which in fact they told us in the end they would not do. So we did our level best negotiating with our backs against the wall. Our partners knew that, yet they were transparent anyway. And I think we've done about as good as we can do for the taxpayers, for the trustees, and also keeping in mind our students. And you were one early, which I appreciated, who was expressed a lot of concern for our students and their well-being in the hotels. And for that, I'm grateful, especially making sure our transportation solutions were there. So I want to appreciate your leadership on that, and thank the trustees for their consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Rampart. I'm going to recognize, Ms. Reed, I'm going to recognize the trustee Keenan. She's had her hand up. You've had the floor with questions. Ms. Keenan.
Thank you. Might be the same question too. But
well, then it's
my
probably an answer. So,
oh no, that she was going to ask. My main question is, have B-dorm. That's 30 beds. It was newly renovated. Wasn't a part of the contract making, but if it's $150 per room, we have 30 rooms on campus that could be used and save us about $500,000. Why is that not considered?
We've been rediscussing that, Trustee Keenan. Part of the reason was because we didn't want to disrupt the kids so if we already had them in the Home2 Suites, we wanted them to have their entire year in the same place. But now that we were crossing over into the spring semester, we'll reevaluate and see what we can do and what needs to be upgraded. We're also looking at just confirming that there's no asbestos left in the B-dorm.
I think it was lead in the water, but
no, it's asbestos and it's in the windows.
Okay, well, all right, so hopefully we can have an answer by that soon, especially because we're signing the contract now. But my other question dealt with multiple year plans, because we're not building a dorm at the moment. So why are we just doing a contract for this year when we're pretty sure that we're going to be putting students in hotel rooms for the next 1, 2, even maybe 3 years?
Because right now, what we're trying to do is raise the money. And working with the legislature and working with the governor, as you saw, 12.5 million was for the renovation and recognition that we have a crisis due to the record enrollment and the anticipated record enrollment this fall, and due to the fact that we've closed dorms that should not have been open. And so they gave it specifically 12.5 million for that purpose, which we recognize would take us through another calendar year of funding for whatever the circumstances are, but we can't enter into contracts without having the money there for us. And so we're doing it as fast as we can and as incrementally as we can, recognizing that we have to raise those funds.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Trustee Carp, your hand is up.
I'd just like to thank Dave Rancourt and his team for negotiating and for making sure that our new college students will have a place to live that's safe and near campus, and their experience here at the college will be top notch. So the fact that they're gonna have a continuous place from fall to spring till next year, I'd just like to say that I appreciate that and thank you for looking out for the students.
Thank you, Trustee Carp. Trustee Reed, you have one more question?
Yep, just one last one, and this is actually for Mr. Kinsley. You said that this money is going to come from the operating expenses, but I'd like a little more clarity on that. Specifically noting that when you talked to the Catalyst recently, you said you were trying to figure out where monies would come from, because the BOG had rejected the the use of carry forward monies to cover the athletic program and hotel costs, and so that you needed to figure out where this could come from. Where did you find the money?
I hate to disagree. I don't believe that I don't believe that is what I said in terms of, I specifically think the Catalyst quoted me accurately. I gave them a quote, and I don't believe it said it. I'm trying to figure out where the money is coming from. The money is going to come from our current year operating budget, from the appropriation the college received has been previously reported an additional $25 million with specific proviso that it is to essentially, and I have to paraphrase it, I don't have it in front of me, but allows for essentially the restoration of New College to become, the premier world-class liberal arts college in the country. And so that gives us this broad authority, and that is to spend dollars for things such as housing or hotels that we normally would not. Other schools do not have that specific proviso and have that authority. So we're taking it from our general operations. That's after consulting with the Board of Governors, they felt that was the most appropriate location.
Thank you, Mr. Kinsley. With that, I see no further questions. Let's take a roll call vote, please, on the motion.
Trustee Bauerlein,
You're muted.
Yes.
Trustee Carp,
Yes.
Trustee Keenan,
Yes.
Trustee Kessler,
Yes.
Trustee Mackey,
Yes.
Trustee Patterson,
Yes.
Trustee Reed,
No.
Trustee Rufo,
Yes.
Trustee Spalding,
Yes.
Chair Jinks,
Yes.
Vice Chair Cristaldi.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next up, we have as an action item that needs the board's review and approval is the Sarasota Bradenton International Airport Agreement. I would call upon our General Counsel Bill Galvano to explain this next agenda item. And it's for the approval of initial terms for Sarasota Bradenton International Airport Agreement. Counsel Galvano, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Madam Chair, before our general counsel goes through the proposal, I did want to take a moment and say that this has been ongoing since we got here, probably beginning of March, discussions with the airport. They reached out to us right away. We sat down with them. We met with them for months and months and months. And we're honored to have here with us in the conference room. I don't know if you guys see him at the very end of the table. is the CEO of the airport, Rick Piccolo, who's just been a fantastic partner. And I'm sure after Chairman Galvano presents, he can say a few words too, but he's just been a wonderful partner. You can call it a negotiation, but I think at the end of the day, I think what general counsel will tell you, there's two very similarly situated parties, both looking out for Sarasota, both looking out for the college, both looking out for the airport on something that makes Sarasota and Manatee, Sarasota, Bradenton area even more wonderful. So it's an honor to have them here and to come over across the street and join us for this presentation.
Thank you for being with us, sir. Where's Mr.? There we are. Go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair, and I think that was a great intro that the president gave, and it's good to see you here today, Mr. Piccolo. So as most of you probably do know, the East Side campus is occupied through a lease agreement dating back to 1957. There's also been some assignments, and those leases encumber 34.8 acres of property. They are set to expire in 2056. And with the expiration, the property, as well as all the improvements on the property, would revert to the airport. So where we are now is we have reached initial terms to go into a purchase and sale agreement for approval by this board and approval by the board of the Sarasota Manatee Airport Authority. The initial terms, or the general terms, are that 30.94 acres of that property will be transferred to New College of Florida, to the state for its benefit, in exchange for a payment of $11.5 million. And this price is a very, very fair, very good price for New College, and provides stability for us, the college going forward. The property the actual ultimate square footage and description of the property will be determined during an inspection period, which the college will get. We'll have 90 days inspection period to do whatever necessary tests, environmental or otherwise, that we deem are important to make sure that we're making the best decision going forward. But it's essentially the 30.9 acres that I just described. The inspection period is 90 days. A survey will be put together in 60 days, and we are discussing closing terms, which, as we've discussed thus far with counsel from Williams Parker, seem very favorable to New College in terms of title insurance and other issues such as that. So what I would recommend the board do is approve the conceptual 11.5 in exchange for the 30 plus acres, to then be finalized and memorialized in a purchase and sale agreement that Mr. Piccolo can take to his board, and that we can bring back to this board for final approval, enter into the inspection survey period, and then ultimately close on this property.
Thank you. Can I have a motion based on this to approve the initial terms for Sarasota Bradenton International Airport Agreement with New College of Florida?
Move to
Okay, I believe, Trustee Cristaldi moved, and Trustee Bauerlein, I could see, seconded the motion. Is there any further discussion on this? Trustee Spalding, I see your hand is up.
No, I just had a clarifying question. I mean, I think this is a no-brainer, obvious thing we should do, but just the difference between the 34.82 acres and the 30.94, I assume that's for a throughway to the airport or some access?
And there's some property north of Spats that will ultimately be retained by the airport, but in terms of a utilization footprint, this covers what the needs of the college are.
Thank you.
Great, thank
Seeing no further, hands raised, yes,
Yep.
trustee Cristaldi.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to thank Mr. Piccolo for his partnership with our organization. He and the Aviation Authority have done a fantastic job growing and making the Manatee Sarasota Airport a very important economic engine in our community. And thank you, sir, for your partnership with us. We know that that isn't something you had to do, but something that you believe in, and we appreciate that. And so I just wanted to publicly acknowledge the fantastic job the airport is doing and that you all are doing, and thank you for that.
And I'd like to thank our general counsel and president and the airport authority for working with us to do. I know this has been something that has been discussed for years and years, and I can't even tell you how many years, but I probably could, probably about 40 years. So I think it's great. Can we, seeing no other comment, can we take a roll call vote, please, to act on this action item?
Trustee Barline,
Yes.
trustee Cart,
Yes.
trustee Keenan,
Yes.
trustee Kessler,
Yes.
trustee Mackey,
Yes.
trustee Patterson,
Yes.
trustee Reed,
Yes.
trustee Rupo,
Yes.
trustee Spalding,
Yes.
chair Jinks,
Yes.
vice chair Cristaldi.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. Thank you all so much. This is good
Madam Chair,
for us.
is it all right if the CEO, Rick Piccolo, says a few words?
Please,
Madam
absolutely.
Chair, I just want to compliment President Corcoran and his staff. I have tried for many, many years to warn the university or the college about what was on the horizon if this issue wasn't addressed. And just to answer one question that was there, the acres that we're retaining are needed for further development of the airport in the future. And one of the key components of getting this approved is this land was deeded to the airport after the war by the federal government. And so the federal government, FAA, has some say in this, and they have to make sure that none of the land that we are going to put up for sale is needed for aeronautical purposes. So we have a master plan that goes out through 2040, shows none of that land is needed, and we understand the importance of the college and the history here. And so we think that this is a fair deal, one that has appraisals behind it, and we think that it's a good win-win for both the airport, the college, and most importantly for the community. And I thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm very excited about this.
And Madam Chair, I think the goal would be to have the agreement in the packet for the January meeting.
Oh, okay. If you all can move that fast, we'll work with you. That's great. Thank you. All right, we just have a couple of updates left on our agenda here. Councilor Galvano, I'm going to ask you to give us an update on the 9-acre Manatee parcel. If there's no other updates there for the airport, can you explain this?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll be brief on this one. As you all know, the Board of County Commissioners for Manatee County approved the donation of this property. It's 9 acres to New College of Florida. They currently have agreements, a donation agreement and a use agreement with their legal for review, but essentially there will be certain conditions that go along with the property that I think we will want to embrace as well. For example, leaving green space along the waterfront with the ability for the school to put in trails and recreation areas, some limitation on the height of buildings that we may put out there. Also, we want to be good partners with the Crosley Museum, which is owned by Manatee County. And so they've asked that we have an open line of communication and give notice if we're going to have an outdoor concert, if we're going to do pyrotechnics on the property, and otherwise cooperate with them. Elliot Falcioni, who is with Manatee County and is essentially the curator of that and many other aspects of the county. Is very excited about the partnership that we will have and sees that it to be mutually beneficial. So procedurally, I checked earlier or late last week, we should get those agreements out of legal from Manatee County. Then we will review them and then present those agreements to the board for approval. And I'm also shooting for January on that. They will approve the agreements in January, their board. So it's very similar to how we operate. They agreed to do it, now they're papering it, and then they're gonna bring it back and vote on it. And this will also have a inspection period for us. So we can do our due diligence. I'd be surprised if we decided to terminate a donation for any reason, but in an abundance of caution, it's good to have the ability to do some inspections.
Great, thank you. We look forward to seeing the proposed final agreements, and we'll take them as you get them to us. We have an update on the classical online liberal arts degree. I'm going to call on Brad Thiessen, Vice President of Academic Affairs and Provost, and Nathan Allen, Vice President of Communications and Special Projects, to discuss this the update, and you two work it out who talks first.
So this spring, New College is launching a pilot of an online version of our liberal arts area of concentration. And this option will take the world-class academic experience we offer and make it affordable and accessible to a global audience. So we see this as a way to drive at least a key contributor to our enrollment growth in the near and foreseeable future. We see this as opening up new market segments when it comes to adult lifelong learners in the community across the globe, whether it comes to dual enrollment students, or once we get it listed on the Florida Virtual Campus, we can open up these courses and options for other students in SUS schools. The online option will continue to maintain our admission standards and graduation requirements. It will lead to three potential outcomes. One is a rapid one-year certificate. Another is an Associate of Arts degree and our Bachelor of Arts degree. And the online version, I want to be clear, this online version of our liberal arts concentration is intended, it's being designed for new students, right? It's not an option for our existing on-campus residential students. We really want to make this an affordable, accessible option for a global audience. And as we build out this online option, we have been collaborating with the Rickett Scrape Books College to develop content and online learning materials. Briefly, just to keep it short, authorization to do this. We went to SACS-COC, our institutional accreditor, back in 2020 when we were going through the
Mr. Thiessen, you're breaking up a little bit, so I think if
Okay.
you just slower, I might be able to hear you better. You're far away from the mic. Yeah, thank you.
Authorization.
Sorry, Brad, excuse me, Madam Chairman, could you go back and repeat some of your earlier points about the three outcomes and some of the particular, when is it starting and that kind of things you missed? I didn't catch all of that.
Okay, yeah, I'll start from the beginning. I will. I'll say it word for word like I should have. So this spring, New College of Florida is launching a pilot of an online version of our liberal arts area of concentration. And the option, we intended to make our world-class academic experience available, affordable, and accessible to a global audience. And where we see this driving enrollment growth is not only in just traditional age students who may want an online classical liberal arts education, but also serving adult lifelong learners, serving dual enrollment students, and even opening it up for enrollment with students across the SUS. Where we see this program leading is to three possible outcomes. So it will maintain our admission standards, maintain our graduation requirements, but could lead to a rapid one-year certificate program, could lead to a two-year Associate in Arts degree, or could lead to a four-year Bachelor of Arts degree. And the online version is targeted for new students, students who would otherwise not be able to have access to a New College education. So the current students we have enrolled on campus, residential students, This is not an option for them. This is an option to get new students to come to New College and make it accessible. And as we build out the program, we have been collaborating with the Ricketts Great Books College to develop content and learning materials. And I was just going to briefly get into authorization for this because we're not known for online education. But back during the pandemic, when we had to go work with our institutional accreditor, we were authorized for online learning with our theater program at the time. We have notified SACS. We have followed all the rules to notify them that we intend to launch this pilot in spring. And we have informed BOG staff as well, Florida Board of Governors staff. We will continue working with them. We will continue leaning on the expertise and experience of professionals at the other SUS schools to make sure that this online program is top-notch and deserves the name New College attached to it. So that's what we're intending to do.
Thank you. Mr. Allen, let me let Mr. Allen finish. Are you going to present? If you are, can you come closer to the microphone maybe? Let's just see.
Sure. Handful of quick things on the financial side.
Hold on, you need to come closer. I'm sorry. If you, maybe you can just sit where Mr. Sorry about that. Try now.
So quickly on the financial side, our sunk costs are almost zero. Our break even on this is a little north of 10 students. Our positive operating margin on this runs about 28% at the bottom. So from a financial perspective, this is a significant benefit to the college. It is worth noting something that Brad said, that the Board of Governors has been urging SUS colleges to engage online, whether that's with full programs or projects or otherwise. More recently, they've been encouraging SUS members to engage online in a differentiated way. So we're not just repeating what University of Florida does, and that's sort of the target of what we're doing, to offer things that we have little or no competition in, particularly within Florida, and to do it at a very accessible rate.
Okay, thank you. I saw some hands up. So, Professor, I now see 3 hands up. The first one up was Trustee Reed. I don't think it was just because of her cat being moved. So I saw her hand first, then I saw Trustee Spalding, and then Trustee Bauerlein. So Trustee Reed, your hand was up.
Thank you. And I apologize for my cat dancing around. She gets anxious about these meetings. So I heard you say, Provost Thiessen, that you're working with the Ricketts organization to develop online content. Who will be providing the instruction? New College faculty or outside consultants that we haven't yet heard about?
Yeah, so because this is our academic program, anyone who teaches in this program will be an employee of New College, so will be our faculty teaching the courses.
Are they already New College faculty, or do you anticipate hiring outside people that we have not heard about?
Yeah, the intent is, especially for this pilot, it will be our own faculty teaching these courses. Now, whether this program takes off and increases in enrollment to an extent that we need to hire additional faculty, I can't say. But for what I can see in the foreseeable future, this will be our faculty teaching.
So my concern about this is that until this morning, when you made a presentation to the EPC, there had been no consultation with the New College faculty about this. So I am somewhat reassured when you say that you're expecting perhaps one class with 10 students. But I am concerned that this is again something that has gone through without any faculty consultation. As you remember, just before Thanksgiving, there was an announcement that went out about 6 new ISPs that were going to be taught by people who had not been approved or vetted or hired or even had working papers to teach in the United States. You've had to pull back 3 or 4 of those courses so far. Can you tell me that this is any more serious?
Yeah, so what I can say is when I got back from vacation, within a week, we had figured out the ISP situation. And so I'm actively involved in the development of this program. I'm confident that we will develop it in a way, and continue to offer it in a way where it is deserving of the name New College, which will appear on the degree. So yeah,
Thank
I'm
you.
confident we can.
Want to emphasize, this will be my last comment, that there needs to be actual faculty involvement in this. Part of our accreditation is that faculty are in charge of the curriculum. I am distressed that you are using things that were put forward to manage the pandemic situation in order to so radically change our academic curriculum. So I think that we need to pause on this. Starting it in the spring is, I believe, a little hasty, and there should be actual consultation with the faculty. You had a meeting this morning with the EPC. There will be a discussion with the full faculty on Wednesday, but I don't believe you have faculty support for this in a broad sense at the moment.
Thank you. I'm going to recognize Trustee Spalding, who had his hand up, and then Trustee Bauerlein, and I see two other hands up. So, Trustee
Yeah,
Spalding.
I had a couple of general questions. I mean, in general, I kind of like the idea of going into the direction of online education. I'm very, very supportive of that, but I'm also very much a critic of it as well. I just want to make sure as we go forward, we're thinking all the right questions through. I was going to emphasize the word and ask what the word pilot means. That suggests to me that we're going to experiment and try some things out. And I would expect, and I guess this is also a question, that as this moves forward, before we ever get to the point of granting certificates or degrees, especially a 4-year undergraduate degree online, we have extensive conversations about that. That's what I would be. I would like to get a sense of that. My expectation to do this well, that will require new faculty, and that strikes me as a good thing, since we are going to be hiring new faculty and additional faculty. So that doesn't bother me as much, and I assume a pilot would allow for their participation as well. But I mean, so my question is, what is understood to be a pilot? What is the schedule for pilot moving into an actual program, and then farther down the road, getting to the point of granting certificates or degrees? I assume at several points along the way, you'd have to come back for board approval of those plans.
Yeah, my interpretation of pilot is just as you stated. So it's trying out some new things, which in this case, this spring, are a few online classes at most. And then assessing what works, assessing what doesn't work, and making changes as needed. The word pilot also means that the students who are enrolled in this first semester won't necessarily be able to go 4 years and get a degree, right? We're not offering all the classes in time. So before any degree is offered, we will ensure, because we are giving the New College name to this, and it is our existing liberal arts area of concentration. Students will have to meet our admission standards. They will have to meet our graduation standards, which include general education standards, standards for the area of concentration, and everything else that comes with the New College education. So pilot is exactly that. We're trying this out right now. We think we will do a good job.
Yeah. But I assume even in a pilot circumstance for this, that you're going to offer those students taking that course credit for the course, which they could use and transfer elsewhere?
Correct. They will get college credit for the course. Yes.
Thank you.
And again, just to clarify, to go further than that, you'd have to present a larger plan for approval to the board. So this is just an update of your plans for an initial pilot, which has not been fully tested, obviously, and a plan has not been fully drawn out because you don't know that yet.
That's correct. We do not have the full plan yet.
That's all I have.
Trustee Bauerlein, you were up next, then Trustee Keenan, and Trustee Rufo.
A question for Nathan or for Brad. If the program succeeds and grows, do you anticipate any impact on traditional applications and enrollments at New College?
Yeah, so it's possible, but look at what we're building here on campus, right? So even the meeting today, we're gonna build a world-class experience here on campus. So if students have the option between being here on campus with the new facilities that we're gonna have, the best housing that we're gonna have, athletics, or they have an opportunity for an online, if they can access both, we certainly hope, and we will push them, the face-to-face is where it's at. We can give the full New College experience that way. Where this online option serves is, this is entirely for students who cannot access that full in-person experience, whether it's due to affordability, accessibility, any other reason. So could it have an impact? Of course it could, right? And is there a chance this online program is better than our face-to-face? I don't think so, but the competition will be good either way, right? One will drive the other.
I'll add to it, Trustee Bauerlein. I know I'm a little bit off camera. I apologize. I got booted out during the Nathan Allen shift. But I'll add to it. I think it's going to grow enrollment. Keep in mind what we're adding here, and there's no plans to add anything beyond this. This is just a partnership with the Ricketts and for a liberal arts degree. So of all of the AOCs that are offered, we're not planning on expanding it to biology, physics, anything else. It's just a liberal arts degree, one degree that you would be able to get online if you cannot come to New College and be a face-to-face student, or you're an adult learner and would like to take a couple courses, or a high school student would like to take a couple courses. In the liberal arts AOC, you'll be able to do that online. I think that will increase nationwide awareness, nationwide experience and interaction with our faculty, and will allow us to continue to grow our enrollment for all of our programs. And I think throughout the entire epidemic, and you probably recall, we were very outspoken at the Department of Education. There's no better learning that can be attained than face-to-face instruction, which is why we pushed for it so quickly. But this is just one AOC that I think continues to advance our brand. And as Nathan Allen said, it's almost more than anything reputational, zero cost to the college for us to go out there and grow students and grow revenues through basically branding and bragging about who New College is and what we offer and the great courses that are being taught here.
Thank you. Trustee Keenan, you had your hand up, and then I'll recognize Trustee Rufo.
Thank you. Can you explain, like, who is the Ricketts, or what is the Ricketts? This company? I've never heard of them.
Yeah, sure. So this is led by Joe Ricketts. He owns the Chicago Cubs, among other things. And he does a lot in philanthropy and education, particularly in disadvantaged communities. And he felt that, he sought a partner who could deliver a great books project, developing it into a program that can reach populations across the country, particularly those who are economically disadvantaged. So he particularly sought out a school that he thought could deliver this and deliver it at a price that was advantageous. I should note that he is also offering scholarships to students and all sorts of things. So this will be extraordinarily low cost to the students. And just to note, for our standards, curricular and admissions and everything else, nothing changes.
He's
Okay.
Trustee Keenan.
Yeah.
If you Google Joe Ricketts, he's one of America's top, very wealthy individuals. He's very, as Nathan Allen said, very at this point wanting to be very philanthropic on trying to ensure that the great opportunities that he and his family have had continue, and those key components that he thinks matter to the growth of a citizen in this country are available. And so the fact that he reached out to us for that partnership through some of our trustees and through others was a great opportunity.
Okay. And can you also explain what working with them to develop the curriculum, or if we're adopting a curriculum they've already made, means? Because are the Ricketts Foundation or group, are they deciding what the curriculum is going to be for us?
No, at least what I said, hopefully I said was, we're working with them to develop content, right? So it's content within the courses that we will authorize, we will offer. So it's learning materials, content, much like an agreement with the textbook publisher would be in any other course.
Okay, well,
I'm gonna recognize trustee Rufo, trustee Keenan. I think we've got there was another trustee that had his hand up and. Trustee
I had
Rufo.
one more comment
Sure.
if we have time.
I'll come, let me have trustee Rufo speak and then we'll come back to you and then trustee Reed raised her hand again. Trustee Rufo, yes.
Great, yeah, thank you. You know, first off, I know Joe Ricketts. He's a friend, and was able to connect him with this opportunity. And I think it's an extraordinary opportunity. Mr. Ricketts is very interested in supporting classical liberal arts education. He's got a wide variety of experiences starting up, you know, businesses and other philanthropic ventures. And I also would just say, from my point of view, I think having an online option is absolutely worth experimenting with. I got my undergraduate education at Georgetown, and then I was actually an adult student through the online offerings at Harvard in my 30s when I had jobs, family, wouldn't have been able to do a full-time student kind of opportunity. And there are positives and negatives to both approaches, but I think that if we have a stellar classical liberal arts education, there are so many people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s that would love to have, you know, that kind of education, which is harder and harder to find. And I think it's a no-brainer if the money pencils out, if we can raise philanthropic support, if it can help us, you know, bring in great people, expand the curriculum. I really see no downside, and I see a lot of potential upside.
Thank you, trustee Rufo. Trustee Keenan, you said I see your hand, trustee Reed. Trustee Keenan had one last question, you said?
I had a comment on this that I'd like to share, and it was mainly that to give a perspective of the students on campus right now, because we hear about the Freedom Institute or whatever's going on with that. We hear about these big plans about pay 10 years down the line. We're hearing about all these big things, but so many people went home this fall semester not knowing where they were going to live come spring semester because of the housing situation. So this is not going well for the students on campus, and I see many of them struggling with the slim resources that we currently have. So we should really turn our focus to make sure what we're doing currently is working. And I make a sincere request of my fellow trustees to stop mentioning their friendships with our business partners. Thank you.
Trustee Reed.
Can I interject real fast, Chair? I would just, to echo what you're saying, trustee Keenan, what we focus on a daily basis for success at the school that did not occur was how do you grow students? And then on top of that, how do you grow revenues? And I think the one thing you should take from this presentation is that this is an opportunity to sincerely grow students and sincerely grow revenues. Two things that the school sorely needs in all aspects. And if any trustee, any faculty member, anybody comes to me with an idea, a friendship, a relationship, whatever it may be that grows students and grows revenues, we will absolutely bring it before you because it's exactly what this school needs.
And that's like actually our job as trustees is to use our networks, to use our knowledge and experience, to use our skills to help bring great opportunities to the college. And so I, for one, would never apologize for potentially helping the college raise money, expand programs, bring in students. And I would encourage the trustees who have, you know, who might not want to do that or think that that is somehow bad to reevaluate their ideas about their role.
Thank you. Trustee Reed, you had the last question, then we've got to move on to the last item on the agenda.
Certainly. Well, what I will say first in response to the last point that Trustee Keenan brought up is that it's been raised repeatedly over this past number of months that there are conflicts of interest among some members of this board who seem to be perhaps profiting from their work on this board. And so I think that is the reason why she raised that question, Mr. Rufo. My
Can you be
other
specific with which people? Let's not make vague accusations. Be a grown up and actually say what you mean.
I'd like to know if I'm one of those with a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Madam
Yeah,
Chair,
but Trustee
Madam
Reed,
Chair,
your
it's
tone
ridiculous.
the entire time, everything you say is
Madam-
so angry, is so negative, is so critical. And
Oh,
then you
you're
lob
not
these vague
recognized.
accusations of breaking the law. And so I would say that either make your accusation or shut up.
Madam Chair, I just want to interject. I think this was an informational item. We've given you the information. If you have follow-up, you can get with us. And secondarily, I would say that if you're going to make some sort of legal challenge about anybody on this board, please come with your facts. If you do not have facts, you do not have documentation, it's completely inappropriate, and we will take whatever actions necessary to make sure that does not occur. But we can move on now, Chairman Jenks.
At this point, we're going to move to,
I would
General
like to just sort of say, I
Albano.
have one more.
No, Trustee Reed, we're moving, we are moving on. Trustee Reed, we're moving on. Bill Galvano, can you, you said we did not need a shade meeting, but we're still running late. But you did have some legal updates. Do you still wish to present those to the board at this time?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And
just keep your voice up a bit with the,
yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine. Thank you.
So, and I'd also say if any of the trustees have a question about a conflict or other legal issue, you feel free to reach out to me as well, and we will get an answer for you. So it is correct, we do not need a executive session shade meeting. We have resolved, for all intents and purposes, the litigation involving the Sarasota Car Museum. President Corcoran gave you some broad strokes earlier, but essentially we have obtained a judgment of possession, which will take effect on March 15th, which will then give us an immediate writ of possession if the property has not been vacated. We also have $50,000 in escrow to move any cars that are left there in cooperation with the owner, and President Corcoran's correct. It's amicable discussions with their counsel. And so for all intents and purposes, we are resolved there and do not need to make any specific decision. The rent has gone to $22,000 per month beginning now, and we'll see where we are in March. And the last point I'd make on that is that the forbearance agreement that we had entered into originally allowed immediate occupancy by New College for the back portion of that property, and that remains during this period. So that's where that stands. Since I do have you, I will share procedurally where we are in some other matters. Again, we don't need to make any decisions on these. And if you all have individual questions, I would request that you reach out to me individually after this meeting or any further information that you might need. The other matters, I just tell you where we are procedurally. NCF Freedom versus Commissioner Diaz, Board of Governors, and New College of Florida. This is a suit that was brought to claiming Senate Bill 266 is unconstitutional, and a preliminary injunction request was made to enjoin its enforcement. That was filed in federal court. We went to a hearing on the injunction about 5-6 weeks ago, and Judge Walker denied the injunction for a lack of standing. One of the components was the fact that the Board of Governors is, while they have notice regs, they've yet to enact regulations with regard to this statute on the subject matter that was raised. There is a pending motion to dismiss that has not been set yet. The other matter regarding 266 is United Faculty and New College faculty with regard to the disposition provision, and a suit has been raised for declaratory judgment and to hold that this statute impairs contract and collective bargaining. A motion to dismiss is pending in that case, and that will be heard January 17th. And then we have the government accountability public records suit. That suit is in its discovery phase and should have a hearing probably the last week of March. So as these things are starting to move and age, we will have occasion where I'll want to get the advice from this board, whether it be for settlement negotiations or otherwise. And so we will have and I will request the opportunity for some executive sessions. But again, you all, each one of you are welcome to reach out to me and any further information that you desire.
Thank you, counsel. I'm not aware of any new business at this time, so we've gone an hour and a half. I would entertain a motion to adjourn at this time.
So move.
Is there a second?
Again.
Okay, all in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 All right, thank you, everybody, for coming out again. We will see you, we'll have our in-person meeting in January, and it sounds like we'll have materials to review in advance of that. And as President Corcoran has stated, and as General Counsel Phil Galvano has stated, you know, for those of you trustees who have these questions, feel free to go to the president, feel free to go to Mr. Galvano, and they will talk to you. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
You.